The Aeneid, Book 8. Aeneas rejoiced at these gifts from the goddess and at the honour she was paying him, and could not have his fill of gazing at them. He turned them over in his hands, in his arms, admiring the terrible, crested, fire-spurting helmet, the death-dealing sword, the huge, unyielding breastplate of blood-red bronze, like a dark cloud fired by the rays of the sun, and glowing far across the sky. Then the polished greaves of richly refined electrum and gold, the spear and the fabric of the shield beyond all words to describe. There the god of fire, with his knowledge of the prophets and of time that was to be, had laid out the story of Italy and the triumphs of the Romans. And there in order were all the generations that would spring from Ascanius, and all the wars they would fight.
Hello, my name is Herbots and I did the reconciliation of Romulus and Remus. The story of the two twins is all about how they overcome adversity throughout their entire lives. Of course, this is ironic as Romulus ends up killing Remus during one of their fights. But that does not overshadow all the problems they had to face together before that horrific event. When you look at the drawing, I believe I captured the brotherly bond, with the two of them shaking hands, putting aside their differences for a new friendship to grow. I linked this story with Goal 16 of the UN Sustainability Goals, which focuses on promoting a peaceful and inclusive society for sustainable development. This goal emphasizes the need for strong institutions and access to justice. The story of Romulus and Remus highlights the importance of forgiveness and reconciliation in order to build a peaceful and inclusive society today.
Hi, I'm Poppy, and I did the drawing depicting Manlius defending the Capitol building in Rome from the Gauls. He ended up winning this battle in single combat, and when he did, he took the torque from around the neck of the Gaul he just killed and put it around his own neck, earning him the epithet Titus Manlius Torquatus. This scene is linked to peace, justice, and strong institutions because of how Manlius saved and protected the city of Rome and restored peace to its people.
Hello, my name is Isobel Solan, and I did the drawings depicting the Salii and the Luperci. The Salii were the priests of Mars, who was the god of war, and the Luperci, who were the priests of the ancient Roman god Faunus. They are shown with their conical hats, tufted with wool, and their figure of 8 shields. They are celebrating the festival Lupercalia, which was a festival every February, which promoted health and fertility. They are practicing religious freedom, which is thanks to the UN and the UN Sustainability Goals that it is possible to do so.
In this image we see the punishment of Metius, who was an Alban dictator in the 7th century BC. He was charged with the crime of treason against Rome because he had allied his people with the Romans, and then in their war against the Etruscans he then proceeded to betray Rome. But then, unfortunately for him, he then went on to lose the war against the Romans, so was punished by General Tullus Hostilius, who is that very fancy looking man we see at the top of the image, to be pulled apart by 2 chariots drawn 4 horses each. So that's him there at the middle with all the red blood around him. I think the artistic decision was have him look very small compared to Tullus to show the divide in power between the two of them. And then obviously we see Tullus Hostilius flanked by 2 of the legionnaires he commands in their full dress uniform, overseeing the proceedings of Metius's execution. In terms of linking this to UN sustainability goals, I think the goal of peace, justice and strong institutions definitely has a part to play here, because obviously regardless of whatever crime Metius did commit, this is an incredibly severe and extreme punishment and quite cruel as well. I sort of look at the progress our justice institutions have made over the millennia, and how we have placed an emphasis on things like compassion and fair trials and fair punishments and stuff of that sort. It is heartening to see the sort of strides we have made, even if we do still have progress to make.
The next drawing on our shield is the story of Antony and Cleopatra. The story of these 2 lovers is a very interesting one. Antony met Cleopatra in Egypt while on a political trip. They were immediately drawn together. However, Antony was already married to Octavia, the sister of his fellow triumpher Octavian. Eventually, a naval war broke out between Antony and Octavian over Antony's love affair, and it was known as the Battle of Actium. This story is evident in my drawings, as you can see Cleopatra in Antony's arms while both characters have tears running down their cheeks. This symbolizes the harsh tear that will entail due to their immense love for each other. I linked this story with Goal 5, gender equality and women's empowerment. Despite being a powerful queen, Cleopatra is constantly undermined and underestimated by the men around her. This is a reality for many women, even in modern times. This goal aims to eliminate all forms of discrimination against women, just like Cleopatra.
Hi. My name is Grace Collins, and the section I drew on the shield is a depiction of Tartarus. On the far right we can see Cato, a member of Rome's senatorial elite, who Virgil placed in the underworld giving laws to the dead, and he's administering justice. We also see the Gateway of Dis, along with the punishments of the damned in the background, and the other central figure shown is Catiline, described as shivering at the faces of the Furies while hanging from a crag in the original text. Like several of the other sections, This part of the shield links in with the UN Sustainable Development Goal of peace, justice and strong institutions. Virgil has chosen to show the all-encompassing nature of Rome by placing Cato in a position of senatorial power even after death. It shows how important the concept of strong institutions and justice were in Virgil's Rome, considering they made them a large part of their afterlife. In addition to this, the punishments of the damned bring up the questions of justice now versus in Roman times, and whether it's anachronistic to consider these punishments a brutal form of justice and strong institutions. In other words, this section of the shield raises a lot of interesting questions about strong institutions, peace, and justice that we can consider and learn from.
Hello, my name is Hugo Sweeney, and I did the drawings of the wolf suckling Romulus and Remus and the seizure of the Sabine women. My thought process when I was doing the drawings was I wanted to make both of them a little lighthearted and purposefully a little crude, because if it's on a shield, it's obviously hard to get the detail in that there would actually be of a drawing like that. So you want it just to be something that's recognizable from a distance, and that's why I did the drawings. Just kind of very simple shapes. Everything in it is relatively recognizable. I believe, especially one of them, ties into the UN sustainability goal of gender equality, in my opinion, as in the tale of the seizure of the Sabine women. It's obviously such a significant moment in the history of Rome. Had to do with big part with women, but not exactly to want women to have a big part in. Much more of a morbid and old style way of living. Something that I think we have made very good progress on, especially from the time, but more progress should be made on, and hopefully will, thanks to our UN sustainability goals.
I did the drawings of the invasion of Porcina, which shows the Roman hero Horatius Cocles defending the Sublician Bridge against the Etruscan army. He held off the army long enough so that the Romans were able to cut it down, saving the city of Porcina from being invaded. This falls under the UN sustainability goals of peace and justice, as the city of Porcina was saved due to this heroic act.
My final drawing consists of Caesar and Augustus. Julius Caesar was a renowned military leader. After a massive wave of support, he was appointed dictator for life. This decision was met with outrage from the Senate, who saw it as a step towards monarchy. They plotted to assassinate him on March 44 BC. This event marked the beginning of the end of the Roman Republic and the rise of Augustus, Caesar's grandnephew. I encapsulated this shift of Roman history with a simple drawing of the two men standing in front of a row of Roman columns to show off the roots of the Roman Empire. I linked the actions of these Roman leaders with Goal 15, life on land. For instance, their laws for tree protection and regulating mining activities promote Goal 15, which focuses on protecting and restoring terrestrial ecosystems. As well as that, the public works program initiated by Augustus also supports Goal 6, clean water and sanitation, which aims to ensure access to clean water and sanitation for all.
The centre part of the shield shows Augustus in his triumph in the Battle of Actium and his victory over Mark Antony and Cleopatra. This serves as a celebration of the freedom and peace he provided for the people of Rome, and it is reflected in the Sustainable Development Goals as peace, justice and strong institutions, as Rome is known for how strong and stable an empire was.
In this next image we can see Mark Antony and Cleopatra on their barge on the River Nile. Then at the back of the boat we see some galley slaves pushing the boat along. Obviously in real life there'd be more to actually push the boat, and Mark Antony standing there at the front of the boat in his military uniform. This image would probably be sometime after the assassination of Julius Caesar, because of the fact that Mark Antony and Cleopatra are together. And then in terms of linking this to sustainability goals, I think gender equality could be something that we discuss in this image. Given the disproportional representation between these two figures throughout the sort of historical sources that discuss their relationship, with sort of Mark Antony being portrayed as this like somewhat noble statesman who like falls victim to Cleopatra, and her as this conniving seductress who tricks Mark Antony into a relationship. So obviously that's somewhat symbolic of how women are portrayed in classical media.
Thank you so much for watching our video of our recreation of the Shield of Aeneas. I hope you enjoyed.